Hey guys, and welcome to the Ultimate Resource Farming Guide for 2018. I decided to re-record everything and do the guide again because the response on the farming guide I released yesterday, where I ordered things by planets rather than resources, was not very good. Now, I didn't delete the old guide, I just made it unlisted, so if you would like to watch it, there is a link to it in the description and a comment down below, together with a link to the Plains of Eidolon fishing guide, Plains of Eidolon mining guide, and all the timestamps you're gonna need for this video. Okay, so let's jump right into it. I'm going to be using my Equilibrium Desecrate Necros that's using health conversion for some extra armor for the vast majority of this video, because Necros is just really good for farming endless missions. You don't really have to worry about Desecrate, you just turn it on and it will multiply resources for you throughout the entire mission. But that doesn't mean you have to use Necros. You can use Ivara with her Prowl, you can use Hydroid with the Pilfering Swarm Augment, Atlas with the Orgaze Augment, or just use a frame that you find really fun. You don't necessarily have to run a frame that can multiply resources, it's just gonna give you a little bit extra on top of what you normally get by killing enemies, and it makes sustaining life support in survival missions much easier. And let's start it off with alloy plates and circuits, which I would recommend you farm in the Grineer Survival Draco on Ceres. This tileset is just really good for farming. The enemy pathfinding is flawless, so they will rush straight for you so you can kill them faster, which means they can respawn faster. It has a lot of choke points where you can camp and kill the enemies as they walk through it, and it generally just drops a ton of resources. It's unfortunately not great for farming Orokin cells, which would have made it amazing, but that's not that big of a deal because we're gonna farm them somewhere else. So here is what you can realistically expect you get after running solo for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and finally 20 minutes. Moving on to nanospores and mutagen samples, which you want to farm in the Orokin Derelict Survival. This place is also amazing for farming any drops you might want from the Infested. Infested missions are really good for farming in general because the Infested don't take cover, so they rush straight for you, which once again allows you to kill them faster, which lets them respawn faster, leading to higher kill counts. You're not gonna get a lot of neurodes here, you're gonna get them every now and then, but the drop rate is fairly sparse, but that's once again not that big of a deal because we're gonna farm them somewhere else. And here is what you can realistically expect after doing this solo for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and finally 20 minutes. Moving on to neurosensors, salvage, and to some extent Kuva as well, which I would recommend you farm in the new Endless Kuva Survival Taveuni on the Kuva Fortress. This mission, despite of what many people say, is the most rewarding survival in the entire game. It is a tier 3 survival, so the rotation rewards are as good as they get. The enemy density is very high, so you're gonna get a lot of drops. You're also gonna get Kuva Guardians and Jesters every now and then, which drop some very rare mods, and you can even get some Kuva if you turn your life support capsules into Kuva Harvesters. Now, this mission is not as efficient for farming Kuva as Siphons and Floods, so what you want to do if you just want to farm Kuva is to do all the Siphons and Floods that are available to you, and once you run out of those, you want to go here. Also, since it does require you to equip an Arc Ring, you can get Tellurium in here. However, Tellurium is extremely random, so you might do 10 runs and not get any, and then do a 5-minute run and get 4. And here is what you can expect if you're doing this solo after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and finally 20 minutes. Just bear in mind that you might get 200 more Kuva because one of my harvesters got destroyed by an Eximus napalm. Moving on to Ferrite, Neurodes, Detonite Ampules, and also Oxium, which I would recommend you farm in the Corpus Survival Tycho on Lua. This mission is amazing for farming if you're in the right place, because there's a couple of tiles that are very meh and the enemies will get stuck all the time. You generally want to stay in the bigger rooms and kind of avoid the small and narrow hallways. Now, what elevates this mission above any other mission when it comes to farming Neurodes especially, is that every 6-ish minutes you will have a squad of Sentients come after you. But you have to get yourself scanned by the Oculist, so as soon as the lights flicker, you want to find these blue dudes right here and kinda annoy them for a little bit. They will scan you and send in the hit squad. Now, the reason you want to do this is because the Sentients they sent in are considered a mini-boss, so they have a very high chance of dropping rare resources, so they will usually drop some Neurodes. Every now and then they will drop an Orokin cell as well, and recently DE added Intact and Exceptional Sentient Core into their drop tables as well. Now, one thing to bear in mind here is that every time they show up, there's gonna be one more of them. At first, they will only send in 2, then they will send in 3, 4, 5, and so on and so on and so on, and it can get pretty hectic. So here is what you can realistically expect after about 6 minutes and the first sentient squad, then after about 11 minutes and the second sentient squad, then roughly 18 minutes after the third sentient squad, and finally after about 25 minutes when you get the fourth sentient squad. Moving on to Rubido, Field Drone Samples, and Morphix, which I would recommend you farm in the Corpus Survival Palace on Pluto. This mission is just fantastic for farming. It drops an absolute crap ton of stuff, and the tile set is really good as well. It also seems to spawn a ton of combined Scrambus units and not too many Bursas. I did 5 20-minute runs for this video just to test it out and see how much resources you're gonna get overall, and I didn't get a single Bursa. I only got combined Scrambus units, so if you want to farm something from them, this is a pretty good mission to go to as well. So here is once again what you can realistically expect to get if you're doing this solo after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and finally 20 minutes. Moving on to Plastids, Gallium, and Polymer bundles, which I would recommend you farm in the Grenier Submersible Survival Ophelia on Uranus. This is another fantastic tile set for farming. It's one of my favorites. It's just really good. And since once again it requires you to equip an Arcwing because you can run into a Sharkwing section, you can get Tellurium, but just like with the Kuva Fortress, it is extremely random. The Drakkar enemies also have a pretty good drop table. They drop a bunch of unique Exodus mods that you can't get anywhere else. So once again, here is what you can realistically expect if you're doing this solo after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and finally 20 minutes. Now for the final 3 resources, which are Orokin Cells, Argon Crystals, and Control Modules to some extent, we're gonna switch over to Limbo with a ton of range and efficiency, squeeze in a little bit of strength and some defense, and farm them by katabombing missions, which for these resources is far more reliable. Now the idea behind katabombing is that you want to break as many resource containers and resource nodes as efficiently as possible, which is why we're using Limbo, because its Cataclysm can get a ton of range and does not require line of sight to hit. This can get you a lot of resources extremely fast, because if you get good at sniping containers while speedrunning the mission, you can get about as much loot as you would get from a 5-minute survival, but in about a minute and a half. So for Argon Crystals and Control Modules, you want to katabomb the corrupted Capture Hipit in the Void, and all you want to do here is katabomb on your way to the target, then capture the target and katabomb your way to the extraction. And here is what you will roughly get by doing this. And finally for Orokin Cells, we are going to combine katabombing with boss farming and do Tethys on Saturn, which is the Sargas Rook assassination. And what you want to do here is katabomb on your way to the boss, kill the boss, and katabomb on your way to the extraction. Now I know Sargas Rook can be kind of annoying because he has invulnerability phases, so you can't just blow him up instantly, but he has a very high chance to drop an Orokin Cell. I mean, I recorded 5 clips for this video and I got an Orokin Cell every single time, as well as 1 extra Orokin Cell from katabombing. And the other option is Oleg Krill with Captain Vor, which I'm pretty sure takes even longer than this. And he's also super easy to kill with Limbo, because what you can do is just stand there in the rift and wait for him to reveal a weak point, then you can katabomb, which will take you out of the rift and kill any nearby enemies, shoot the weak point and go back into the rift. So this is definitely the most reliable way of farming Orokin Cells, though if the Forid assassination is up, which is the invasion assassination, you want to do that because that is much faster. And that's pretty much it. All we have left is Nightingale Extract, for which I would recommend you either follow one of the websites or Twitter accounts that notify you whenever one of these alerts pops up. Though you can also get it from caches in sabotage missions, but this is so not worth it, it hurts. You could do 50 sabotage missions and not get a single one. And all that's left is Cryotic, which you simply get from excavation missions. And if you just want to farm Cryotic and nothing else, go to Earth and do Everest, because it's a very low level mission, so you can stay there for very long, do a ton of excavators and get a lot of Cryotic. And that's pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you've enjoyed it more than the last one. I wish you good luck when farming resources, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.